regardless of his fame and the speculations about his faith. Tut's one mummy among many in Egypt. How many? No one knows. So Tut's mummy is one of the mummies in Egypt. And as we know that Egypt is popular for pyramids and mummies, and nobody knows that how many mummies are there in Egypt. The Egyptian Mummy Project, which began an inventory in late 2003, has recorded almost 600 so far and is still counting. In 2003, when this project, Egyptian Mummy Project, started, almost 600 mummies have been recorded so far, and still the mummies are in counting. New mummies are in counting. The next phase, scanning the mummies with a portable CT machine donated by the National Geographic Society and Siemens, its manufacturer. King Tut is one of the first mummies to be scanned. In death as in life, moving regally ahead of his countrymen. So King Tut's mummy was the first one to be scanned by CT scanner under the next phase of scanning the mummies with the machine donated by the National Geographic Society and Siemens. So this last line of this paragraph, King Tut is one of the first mummies to be scanned. In death as in life, moving regally ahead of his countrymen. So his mummy was one of the first mummies to be scanned, and thus we see that this King Tut, when he was alive, he was a leading figure, and he remains so even in his death by being the first mummy to be scanned, to come in contact with such an advanced technology. A CT machine scanned the mummy head to toe, creating 1,700 digital X-ray images in cross-section. So the CT scan machine scanned the body by creating 1,700 digital X-rays in cross-section. Tut's head scanned in 0.62 millimeter slices to register its intricate structures. So Tut's head was scanned in 0.62 millimeter slices to record the intricate, all the tiny details, to get all the tiny details. Takes on eerie detail in the resulting image. Eerie means strange, and to take all the strange detail. With Tut's entire body similarly recorded, a team of specialists in radiology, forensics and anatomy began to probe the secrets that the winged goddesses of a gilded burial shrine protected for so long. So a team of radiology, forensics and anatomy. Radiology, the team which work in x-rays and all. Forensic, the team which investigate with scientific technologies. And anatomy, the branch of science which deals with the bodily structure of humans, animals or other living beings. So they all were there, all the specialists were there, and they began to probe the secrets that the winged goddesses of the gilded burial. So they all started to investigate the secrets that the winged goddesses of a gilded burial is burying the dead. So of a gilded burial shrine protected for so long. So for so many years, for so many centuries, the dead body, the mummy, which was protected by winged goddesses for so long, now finally that was being investigated by the specialists of various fields. The night of the scan, workmen carried Tut from the tomb in his box. Like pallbearers, they climbed a ramp and a flight of stairs into the swirling sand outside, then rose on a hydraulic lift into the trailer that held the scanner. So during the night, workmen climbed up on the ramp and a flight of stairs to carry the body from the tomb into the spinning sand outside. Okay, pallbearers are the people who help to escort a coffin at a funeral. 20 minutes later, two men emerged sprinted for an office nearby, and returned with a pair of white plastic fans. The $1 million scanner had quit because of sand in cooler fan. Curse of the Pharaoh, joked a guard nervously. So then what happened? That after 20 minutes, two men ran towards the office nearby to bring two fans. The scanner was not working as the sand had entered a cooler fan. The guard joked that it was because of the curse of the Pharaoh, because they had removed his body. So this curse was a popular rumor, and that's why these guards, they made a joke of this. But eventually the substitute fans worked well enough to finish the procedure. After checking that no data had been lost, the technicians turned Tut over to the workman, who carried him back to his tomb. Less than 3 hours after he was removed from his coffin, the Pharaoh again rested in peace where the funerary priest had laid him so long ago. So all the procedure was finished because the fans which were brought as a substitution, they worked. The data was checked in case of any loss, and then technicians returned the body to the pallbearers who carried him back to his tomb, and in less than 3 hours he was resting at the same place where the priests had laid him many years ago. Back in the trailer of a technician pulled up astonishing images of Tut on a computer screen. A grey hat took shape from a scattering of pixels, and the technician spun and tilted it in every direction. So in the trailer, the technician showed a beautiful image of Tut on a computer screen. Okay, using that CT scan, they could make the image of real Pharaoh, and that screen showed a beautiful image of Tut. He showed the grey hat which was scattered in pixels, and he spun it around. Neck vertebrae appeared as clearly as in an anatomy class. So vertebrae means series of small bones which form a backbone. So neck vertebrae appeared as clearly as in an anatomy class. So that image was clear. Other images revealed a hand, several views of the rib cage, and a transection of the skull. But for now, the pressure was off. Sitting back in his chair, Zahi Hawass smiled, visibly relieved that nothing had gone seriously wrong. I didn't sleep last night, not for a second, he said. I was so worried, but now I think I will go and sleep. So as the work was done, the pressure was finally off from the shoulders of Zahi Hawass. So they were in pressure that the mummy was fine or not, all the pieces were there or not. So finally when the work was done and everything was fine, so Zahi Hawass, he was relieved. So while sitting in his chair, he smiled and said that he was relieved that nothing went wrong with that mummy. He had not slept the previous night, and now as the work was done, he would go and sleep. By the time we left the trailer, descending metal stairs to the sandy ground, the wind had stopped. The winter air lay cold and still, like death itself in his valley of the departed, just above the entrance to Tut's tomb. So by the time they left the trailer, the wind had stopped and the winter air was like death itself, means it was cold. Just above the tomb, the Orion constellation shone in the night sky, watching over the boy king. Just above the entrance to Tut's tomb stood Orion, the constellation that the ancient Egyptians knew as the soul of Osiris, the god of the afterlife, watching over the boy king. So just above the tomb, the Orion constellation shone in the night sky, watching over the boy king. And this constellation was a symbol of Osiris, the god of the afterlife.